What's up my bro, Tundrum here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you 7 cards in Standard that if I reckon Wizards had just changed the card a little bit, wouldn't be so meta breaking. So, in this video I'm going to be giving you guys my ideas on how Wizards could have balanced some of the best cards in Standard right now. These are just some custom changes I have made to a few cards that I think if applied would really help balance out the meta. None of these cards are bad design. In fact, most of them are a very good design. I just think that they're so powerful and meta breaking that with these few changes / nerfs I've done to a few of them, it would balance them out a lot more. Like, they'd still be good, but they wouldn't be absolutely meta breaking. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the cards. The first card I think number 1 needs to change the most. Everyone would have seen this coming, is Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. He's a 3-mana 6/6 legendary creature Elder Giant, and he says when he enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. And then when he enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, draw a card, and you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. And then he has escape for 4 and exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. Now Uro's just so good, he's insane in ramp decks, he ramps them in, he's a massive threat later on, he gets them more ramp, he gains their life back, so they're immune against aggro, but I reckon just to make him a little bit weaker is if they got rid of that gain 3 life, so those ramp decks loses a little bit of their power against aggro decks, and if it said exile 6 cards, not 5 cards, it would be a lot more balanced. Just because 6, it's still 1 more card, it's still like a big difference over 5. It's still a good, I'd say, turn later that he comes out from the graveyard. This might be a little bit too much of a nerf, but I think it's definitely deserved. Coming up next, the number 2 card I think needs a nerf is Embercleave. This card just makes mono red decks so insane. It's a 6-mana legendary artifact equipment with flash, and it costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. This is often only 2 mana. And then it says when it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. It has equip cost of 3, and when it enters, the creature gets 1/1 and has double strike and trample. If you equip this onto a big Steamkin, suddenly you've got 10 trample power coming in your enemy. Or if you equip this to an Annex, just the Annex alone, without any other things on the field to buff his power from devotion, that's also 10 damage. It's just so busted. It often lets them win on turn 4, and I don't think it's possible on turn 3, but almost always wins on turn 4 with this. So what I reckon the thing they could have done to balance it is just get rid of that trample. It would still be super insane, being able to flash it in on an unblocked big creature and insta-kill the opponent if the enemy chose not to block. And if they did choose to block, you can put it on your big thing to combat trick them in and destroy their creature and still have a massive equipment. I reckon this would have made it a lot more balanced. The number 3 card I think needs balanced is Cauldron's Familiar. I could have also done Mayhem Devil here. This really just kind of balances out the Rakdos sack decks a bit, but Mayhem Devil would have been a bit of a pickle. I would have really just said whenever you sack a permanent, not your opponent, and it would still be very good. This card, I'm trying not to nerf it too much. I still want it to be viable in the deck, but I just want a little cut off the top of the hair of the deck, you know, of what I'm saying. Just nerf it a teeny bit to weaken it down. So Cauldron's Familiar is a 1-mana 1/1 creature cat, and it says when it enters, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then you can sacrifice a food to return Cauldron's Familiar to the battlefield. That's pretty much what the card reads. This is a really insane combo with Witch's Oven, which kind of just lets you, well, it doesn't let you win, but it's so busted. Gives you a chump blocker, an attacker, makes them lose 1, and you gain 1. If you have 2 ovens, it gets really insane. But I reckon just to weaken this down a bit, the Sack of Food ability says you can only use this during your upkeep and only once each turn. So double oven doesn't work, and you also, if they don't have any blockers, you don't get the double swing in with them, and you can't use the cat to chump block. So this essentially says if you're going to sack it, it can't attack or block. So that just gets a little bit nerf off the cat. Coming up next, we have Teferi Time Raveler. Now, Teferi, he goes into pretty much any deck he can be running. He's a 3-mana 4 loyalty, legendary planeswalker Teferi, and he says each opponent can only cast spells anytime they could cast the sorcery. Then, you can +1 him to make you be able to cast sorcery spells anytime you can cast an instant. This is really good. And then this bottom ability, I reckon we should change it to a -4, not a -3. It's normally a -3, which is return target artifact, creature, enchantment to its owner's hand and draw a card. This ability, being able to do this, bounce your opponent's things, slow them down, maybe even bounce your own saga, like Elspeth Conger's Death. Draw a card, it's just really good, and then Teferi survives, and then you can tick up and do it again, just generating so much value. So I reckon what you should do is make this a -4, not a -3. So when he comes in, if he's willing, if you want to do that, he isn't a massive immediate board presence and something you have to deal with because he'll go into the graveyard. And it'll just make those control slower decks lose a teeny bit of their touch against aggro decks. I might be nerfing him a bit too much here, but I reckon it is definitely deserved. Coming up next, we have Fires of Invention. Maybe this one doesn't need a nerf, but I've just done a teeny tweak to it that I reckon would make it a lot more balanced. So Fires of Invention, it's 3 and a red for an enchantment that says you can only cast 2 spells each turn and only during your turn. But you can cast spells with converted mana cost equal or less than the number of lands you control for free. So this probably it's I'd say about the 3rd or 4th most prevalent deck in the meta right now, called Fires of Invention. You pretty much play this on turn 4, and then you just play Cavalier, Kenrith, Dream Trawler, bomb after bomb after bomb, and then with all the leftover mana, you then activate all the activated abilities and get tons of value. These are normally 3-color Jeskai decks though, and I reckon just by making the cost of Fires double red, not 3 and a red, 2 and double red, it just makes it a little bit harder to cast and nerfs these decks just a teeny bit. Coming up next, we have Dream Trawler. Dream Trawler is just so good. It sees play in most decks that can run it. And Control and Fires and a lot of Azorius Flyers builds. It's a really solid card and it's just so annoying. I might be a bit biased here just because I'm really angry at it, but this is the balanced version. No, I'll read the regular version out. So it's normally it's a 6 mana 3/5 flying lifelink. Whenever you draw a card, it gets 1 extra attack until end of turn. When it attacks, you draw a card, and you discard a card to give it hexproof until end of turn, and then tap it. So you don't have to tap to activate that ability on the original version. So you can pretty much just give it hexproof even if it's already tapped. It just means it can't block. But I reckon what we can do to balance it out a bit is make it a 5 mana 3/5 creature with flying and lifelink, and whenever it attacks or blocks, draw a card, and then you have to tap it and discard a card to give it hexproof. So this makes it more, I reckon it nerfs it a teeny bit. It makes it less desirable for those non-control decks because they're normally not going to keep it up for blocking, so the extra card when blocking isn't going to be too viable. The extra power would have been better. And yes, but then in Control, you're having that extra card when blocking and losing its power, I reckon is slightly more viable. But then we have this nerf, which is it actually needs to tap before it actually needs to be untapped to activate the hexproof ability. So if your enemy has 2 removal spells, 2 instant speed ones, they can still kill it off. I reckon I might be nerfing it a teeny bit too much, but I reckon this nerf is definitely needed. And the 7th and final card I reckon Wizards could have made slightly more balanced is Brazen Borrower. It's a 3 mana 3/1 with flash flying, and it can only block creatures with flying. And it has that's quite a solid body. But then what makes it really OP is it has this 2 mana instant adventure that says return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Now, Brazen Borrower, it might not need. It's a really insane card, but it's not so much meta breaking right now. I've seen playing Temur Reclamation, Temur Clover, Simic Flash, Dimir Flash, but that's about it. But it's so insane in those decks. But then it is really good. It has seen play at other places, and I reckon just making that disperse effect, the bounce thing, non-land permanent effect, petty theft I think it's called, a sorcery just really balances it out, making it so they don't have that nice flash effect off it, so it kind of just gets rid of a little bit of the deck's tempo, if you know what they mean. And you guys, that concludes the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more from me, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, see you around.